Anybody have any strange experiences in life? Alright, let's start with my own stories. I don't have many, but I figured since I made one before I might as well share them all. Some are not too spooky, just weird occurrences, but I'll start with a real spooky one. Be me. Out with 3 friends at a view since we live in the suburbs and it's the only thing we can do. Let's call them James, Blake, and Marcus. We got there around 8 and as the night went on more and more cars slowly started leaving and eventually we were the only ones at the view. There's a kind of old wives' tale that this spot is haunted or rumored Native American burial grounds, but we all thought this was BS. Then something happened that to this day I cannot explain. I was sitting on the bed of my friend's pickup truck next to James. Suddenly I see these orange orb-like lights flying in the distance. Think it is just fireflies or some weird bugs, but I noticed they were zipping around the sky at impossible speed. Suddenly the lights get closer and get behind me and James. I feel a warm sensation on the back of my head and Marcus and Blake have their eyes wide in terror. Marcus tells me,
"Don't move."
Then I just see Marcus and Blake's faces light up, like if someone were to take a picture with the flash on, but instead of white it is orange. Then just as it started, the orange orbs just shot off into the sky and disappeared. We all got the sudden feeling of dread and decided to get the hell out of there. Never went back to that view again. Years later I was working on editing videos and came across a 4chan thread about UFOs. Read this quote that talked about orange orbs and a chill ran up my spine. Orange is a mineral/bioscanning mode. Since most people see orange, you're likely being scouted/selected for an abduction. It can see your heart beating and even the valves pushing the blood inside just to add some more perspective. So glad we didn't stick around. Be me. Driving back from Colorado with my high school friend, let's call him Jake. It's about 2 a.m. and Jake wants to get some gas, so he tells me he is going to fill up at the next gas station. We see a single big illuminated sign with the word gas. Driving through small town. All the houses are deserted, boarded up, abandoned cars. Shit's creepy AF. I find it odd that not a single house has their lights on nor any working cars parked in front. Pull up to gas station as this is the only thing that is providing us light. Jake is the type where he doesn't trust gas pumps, so he goes inside to pay. Jake comes back, says nobody is in the gas station. I asked him if he checked the bathroom and he said there was nobody in there at all. Jake gets a weird vibe and was about to pay when he turns towards me and says,
"Do you think we should just go?"
I replied, "What do you mean?" Jake said,
"I just have a weird feeling being here."
Jake gets back in the car and we just drive fast AF out of there. A few months pass and Jake tells me if I remember the town we came across. He said he drove by there again coming back home from Colorado and he swears that the town was full of people, houses not boarded up, and that gas station was no longer there. I am not sure what to make of this. The feeling we got being there, it felt as if we slipped into another reality and our internal alarm bells were just ringing for us to get TF out of there. So this, I still wonder what kind of animal or creature this could have been. Hard to describe over green text, but I will try my best. So I was hiking on a bike trail with my oldest brother Brad in Oregon. Chatting about random things, and we suddenly hear a short noise like a mix of a roar and bird screech, last only about 3 seconds in intervals. Think it is just an animal in the distance. Keep walking and hear it again, but closer this time. Considering this was not a normal trail and don't know where it leads to and not too far from our campsite, we decide to turn around and go back. Years later, go on a day hike with my 2 friends from college. Misjudged the timing of when we started the hike and finished the hike up and the start of sunset. Head back. It's nighttime and we are using our flashlights on our phone to light the path back. Hear that exact same sound, pitch and intervals that I heard years ago with my brother. Chill runs across my body, but try not to show it since I am with 2 girls and don't want to freak them out. Pick up the pace. Noise is louder and more frequent this time. Is getting closer. My friend hears it and says, "What the hell was that?" We start to jog, which becomes a run. Trying not to eat shit, but I tell them to go ahead of me and I am the last in line because protective instinct kicks in. Thing is much closer and I hear footsteps and branches breaking behind me. Sounds bipedal. Took us about 20 minutes to get back to the car. We basically ran for our lives and quickly got in the car. Locked the doors. Turned high beams on, scanning the tree line. Nothing. Eventually left the area. Was in Oregon for about 3 years after this and went on plenty of hikes, but thankfully never heard this noise again. Skinwalker? This story is not of my own but of my dad's. We were at a lake in Nevada for a family reunion. We basically rode jet skis and grilled, and my dad decided to take his jet ski out by himself for some alone time. He told me that he went way out into the lake past where anyone was. This lake is huge and has many channels splitting off, and he decides to take one. He said he went really far into the channel and began to think, "What the hell am I doing this far? I could get lost and nobody would find me." He said he was about to turn around, but something internally kept telling him to keep going a little further. He kept going, and each time he thought about turning around, that same feeling came over him, so he continued on like this for a while. Then oddly enough, he sees a lone jet ski with no one on it floating off in the distance, being dragged by the current. He approaches the jet ski a little closer when suddenly he sees a man shoot out to the surface gasping for air. Holy shit, he is drowning, my dad thought. Guy takes what appears to be his last breath and fight for life before sinking beneath the waves. My dad speeds up to where he saw the guy and reaches down into the water as far as he can, and sure enough he feels the guy grab onto his hand. Dad pulls him onto the jet ski and the guy is just gasping for air. Dad reassures him he is okay now and to catch his breath. Guy tells my dad after calming down that he can't believe it, he saved his life. He said he was on his last leg, and when he was drowning he just kept praying to God to save him, pleading for some kind of help, and that he was so tired that at the moment he took his final breath of air before giving out to exhaustion, he saw my dad approaching him from a distance. My dad said he never had any weird or spiritual experiences in his life until that day. So my dad saved a man's life that day. Pretty wild. Be me. About 12 years old, playing in the front yard with my brother, Jake. See a random lady in workout clothes walking on the sidewalk approaching our yard. Think nothing of it considering people here always go for walks. Lady walks right in front of our yard, turns to my brother and says,
"Hi, Jake."
Keeps on walking down the street. My brother has a look of confusion on his face. Ask him, "Do you know her?" Jake says,
No.
"We never seen this lady ever before in our lives. Ask our parents and describe what she looked like, and they too never seen her before. We only knew 2 neighbors in our little street and they are both elderly, and I knew for sure that the lady was not them. Kind of creepy. Be me. Visiting Oregon before my move for college. Spend a week exploring the state and hiking trails. Hit this popular trail, but it is raining and cloudy and basically alone. I was enjoying the scenery and felt at peace. Hiked for about 15 to 20 minutes. Decide I hiked far enough and don't want to risk going further, being the only one here with no firearm or satellite phone. Turn around, and about 1 minute heading back I get the sudden feeling that I am being watched. Get paranoid because I don't want to get attacked by a mountain lion. The terrain was a straight wall to my right and the river to my left. Basically enough space and sparse vegetation to where nothing could be hiding without me seeing it. Feeling intensifies. Freaking out internally because I can't shake the feeling I am being watched, but hear no sounds at all, not even the river flowing, which is weird AF considering I am close enough to see the river flowing and would take me no longer than 20 seconds to walk to if I wanted. Fast walk the trail as I don't want to run and kick off a mountain lion's predatory instinct to chase me. I don't know how to explain this, but something in my primal brain told me to run, just fucking run, if you don't run it will get you. I ran as fast as I could back to my car and left the trailhead back onto the government road. Whether this is purely my imagination or a real experience I don't know, but I figured I'd share. Be me. Young AF. Having a phase of spirituality and going down rabbit holes about astral projection and meditation and third eye shit. Take up astral projection. Try so many times to experience a real vivid experience. One day it happens, I can see myself leave my body and fly around the world with no restrictions, think this is so cool. Decide to travel the universe. Think to myself fly to a planet with intelligent life. Suddenly shoot off into space like when in Star Wars the Millennium Falcon when it enters warp speed. Come across a planet that looked like Avatar, see a weird jellyfish-like being, basically tells me I have a strong spiritual connection, says it has to go now. Jet back to Earth. Want to speak to it again. Goes back to that planet, nobody around, big sad. Go back to my room and decide to go to the dark side of the moon. See a bunch of bases and lights, explore. I am inside, see a bunch of government workers who pay no attention to me. Can't believe this. Go deeper, nobody around, feels like an area I shouldn't be in but keep going regardless, stop and look at a door when I have a sudden feeling of being watched and dread, like I am in danger. Turn around, see gray alien. Looking into its eyes and feel nothing but fear and dread. I hear a voice tell me,
"You shouldn't be here."
Say I am only passing by. It doesn't say anything but I feel a piercing stare into my very soul, like I am being analyzed. Leave the moon and never go back. Eventually go back into my body and wake up. Now I can say that all this was my young naive imagination wanting to see things that I am just imagining, like when you are dreaming and realize you are dreaming, but that feeling I got when confronted by the gray I can't explain. It just felt pure evil, and when I came across the government-looking employees, sure that could have been my imagination, but they paid no attention to me at all, but that gray did. I have heard on 4chan that certain areas of the moon are off limits and protected even against astral projectors. Thought it was BS, but maybe it isn't. Be me. About 12 years old. Looked more like 9 years old. In a clothing store at the mall with my mom. I was an explorer type of kid, so I just went off to the opposite side of the aisle looking at clothes while my mom looked at outfits. Got bored and was playing with my phone when I noticed a guy kept looking in my direction. Guy says,
"That's a cool outfit, kid."
I say nothing because who TF are you? Guy looks at my phone and says,
"That's a nice phone."
Say thanks. Guy says,
"Can I see it?"
Get weird AF vibes and tell him my battery is low and walk away. As I am hurrying back to my mom at a fast walking pace, I look over to the aisle across the clothes and see the same guy matching my pace and looking over at me. Get back to my mom and the guy is gone. I think about this a lot now that I am older, and I either think he wanted to steal my phone or kidnap me, maybe both. Think about it. What grown man tries to have a full-on conversation with a young kid? Did he want my phone to steal it, or did he want it to make sure I had no way to call for help? Human trafficking happens in public places more often than you think, and I can't help but feel like I could have been a victim had I gave him my phone. Be my parents. On vacation. Swimming in the Sea of Cortez. About 7 o'clock. Sunsetting. Mom sees a silver sphere in the sky on fire. Moving at a rapid speed towards a small mountain. Disappears behind the mountain. Feels a huge rumble like an earthquake. Shortly after, a bunch of emergency vehicles and Mexican military boats head towards the back of the hillside. Following day, the beach is closed and they see Mexican military on the streets, and one of the soldiers had a microphone ordering everyone to stay in their homes. parents turn the TV on and there is an emergency broadcast on telling everyone to stay in their homes because of cartel and military gunfight going on in the area. The following day my parents were heading out and they were about to take the road that goes near the small mountain where they saw the UFO. There is a blockade and a detour. In the distance they see black helicopters and a bunch of the Mexican military. Weird thing was the soldiers were all in black uniform and not the normal color pattern of the traditional Mexican military. About an hour passes and my dad says he noticed a black car following them. Siren kick off. Great, an undercover cop. Mexican police are corrupt, so my parents were not too concerned as they typically take cash and you get off the hook. They get pulled over. Dad has his cash ready when he notices it's not a cop but two white men in black. Dad said the two men addressed them both by their names, even though they never seen these two men before in their life. Basically asked them what did they see that one night. Dad knew better and said they didn't see anything. Guy says,
Good, I would keep to that. Because if you don't, we will paying you a visit in
their current address in the States. Tells my dad have a safe trip. Weirder thing was when they got to the border there was a lane open but blocked off. They were waiting in traffic when cops cleared a path and basically escorted my parents to the open lane, didn't ask for passports, nothing, just had them go straight through, no questions asked. Dad always told me he never experienced any paranormal things in life, but with his current age he figured he'd tell me now, as it had been in the back of his mind for years.